Boom! We are alive, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tio, the Arcane Bear. It is a fantastic Sunday here in the jungle. Bitcoin doing what we like it to do, which is remain being a Bitcoin. Very happy about that, ladies and gentlemen. One Bitcoin is still worth one Bitcoin. Congratulations. Ooh, I've got myself on double down here in the background. So what we're going to do for your favorite crypto content, maybe I'm wrong, is dive into the Bitcoin 6 hour, a little bit higher of a time frame than we normally start at, but it's good. When in doubt, zoom out. Categorically, normally, if you've been joining us for quite some time, we always start out on these much larger time frames, or at least looking with kind of retrospective analysis. This is very, very valuable. I think there's a few quotes around this, something like the past and the future don't sound exactly the same, but they rhyme, something to this effect. So it's important to keep those historical and past studies and retrospectives for our analysis. So we started way back here in March, this bull market, which was classically known as the spring. I hope many of you will recognize it here for the rest of your lives. Any moment when people freak out, that's a perfect time to start buying the assets that you love the most while they are at a discount. From NFTs to Bitcoin, property, and collector's guitars, ladies and gentlemen, at the peak of a pandemic, when there is blood in the streets, as they say, you should turn around and you should start buying stuff. Not toilet paper. Good motive on the buying of something, but wrong motive of what it is you should buy. It should not be toilet paper. It should be limited, scarce, and at that moment, undervalued assets because they're being sold, probably for cash to get through a period of time. Anyways, the pandemic, the spring, such a classical moment for those of you that really understand that psychological, visceral level of fear in the markets. You will recognize this moment for the rest of your life, and you will be able to use it to get into the rest of the bull market cycles in the future, because they are all tinged by two important human emotional experiences. Number one, euphoria, and number two, fear. Yeah, those two. Although people call them greed and fear, I think it's actually euphoria and fear, but that's a different story. I think euphoria is like, hey, everything's amazing. I'm super optimistic about the future. We're flying to Mars, ladies and gentlemen. This is so good. Everything's great. Ice baths, every kind of food you could imagine. Girls feeding me grapes, fanning me in the middle of the jungle with an infinity pool. It's how good things were in 2019. That was a very euphoric moment. But now, after we had our fear, our onrush set in, even I got scared. I thought I was going to have to buy horses. Jeez, oh my God, the world could shut down. What the hell is happening? And here we are. We came out the other side. Our health, hats off to the healthcare professionals. They did amazing through that whole time. You know, we had some really tricky stuff to deal with there, and I think the healthcare system did great all around the world, although it could have been a much smoother conversation. We are now in the early and beginning stages of euphoria, something I've talked about many times. The interest here is the spring, the literal and also somewhat metaphorical spring of the trading ranges that we so often go over. The spring is normally a moment peaked and filled with fear right before the bull market continues. In the previous cycle of a trading range here on the 6 hour, that was this moment. It was the day that Tesla started buying $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, not actually the day they announced it, because they have to announce within 10 days, and they probably waited exactly 10 days before they announced because they wanted to get in without getting the price up, and they probably very quickly recognized that if Elon just tweets something about Bitcoin and Doge, it goes up. So let's not tell everybody yet. Let's buy it all first, and then we will signal our position, and that's likely what they did. So this spring was actually categorized by huge buying, which we can see. Look at these cycle buys here, as high as the rest of the range in the middle of the spring. And also by that peak moment of fear, which was, oh my God, F2 Pool. This was a moment when like F2 Pool was dumping here. Yeah, because F2 Pool has been selling the entire year because that's their business plan. But it was also the moment when they're like, oh my God, there's double spend maybe, potentially. Who knows? What's even double spend? Do people even know how this thing works? Oh, apparently not. It wasn't a double spend. We just got it wrong because we don't know how this thing works. Extremely complex when it comes to technology. I'm just glad my fucking Bluetooth mouse does anything. Like, thank you, mouse. Anyways, that's another story. This moment of fear at that time happened to be the best time to buy, and one of the world's best happened to be buying at that time. Elon Musk, congratulations. You bought into most people's fear and irrationality at that moment. And here, as we move into the future, as we catch up with where we are today at this moment right now, there has not yet been a spring. Now, we could make an argument very clearly we could make an argument, right? Who likes to argue? Tio does. I could make an argument against myself that this, in fact, was the spring. Although it looks like a primary shakeout to me, secondary test, and your first automatic rally. Now here, the fact that we're not showing a lot of strength likely means we're going to move one time back below the point of control. And for some reason, in the rest of the normal markets, people have been talking about a market crash, which is just fantastic to me, because it seems like the old school marketplace doesn't know a goddamn thing about what a market crash actually feels like. Because all the S&P 500 did the other day when people were making YouTubes about a stock market crash was touch the bottom of the trading range. A very healthy and normal thing to do, especially after we had left one previous trading range and formed into another. I think a big part of the conjecture, and one of the things that could drag Bitcoin's price down right now, is if you were to see a spring below, and a lot of you who are studying, you'll recognize this very clearly. Maybe this was a reaccumulation schematic 3, where you have box C come outside of the trading range before coming into the backup and moving forward. And this is a very high potential. We've gone over these many times. For those of you that are big fans of the Bear family, you'll notice this one. There it is. Reaccumulation schematic 3, where you jump above the box in phase C and come back down to test. And not only did Bitcoin do this on a higher time frame, as remember, right, this is the likelihood that you are seeing A, box B, box C, and the return to the top of the trading range here, boom, before phase D and E come out. I've said this many times before, that these are fractal in nature. So you actually have one small trading range, another small trading range, but in fact, it looks very high potential to me that this is actually just one larger trading range with phases A, B, and C here, again, to get this nice quality of character here, A, B, C, a break above the box in C, come down in phase D to touch the top, which is where we're at now. We would just be basically hitting into phase D of this character C change. So look at that. This actually may be just a much larger trading range. We could make arguments the same way for Ethereum. We had originally talked about this trading range here, this primary larger TR. And it wasn't until the breakout of the box. So here was our primary trading range. We kept hitting this automatic rally. It's very bullish breakout, and we broke above the box. So a big part of the argument would be, was this phase A, was this phase B, was this phase C, and did we just touch into phase D here? Did I draw that right? A, yes. B, C, D. Again, equivalent to something like this. And I actually believe that's a very high likelihood, because both of these trading ranges for both Bitcoin and Ethereum, even though Ethereum showed more weakness here than I would have liked, again, we went over that in our previous videos, the potential of this being a singular trading range is still very high. We were expecting that in our backup phase. We're like, oh, maybe it hit here. But if this was such a large range, why would phase C and D not be equally as large? And we've seen this multiple times before. Again, especially when you go back and you do retrospective studies of what Bitcoin looks like on its much bigger time frames. So as kind of I think this is always important. For those of you that did not join us in the early days of these episodes when the bull market was just starting, this is the chart that we have been following for pretty much almost a year now, starting on March 11th, basically, where we had, again, our kind of like our hyperimposed bottom of this red line here would be our accumulation, top of the red line would be distribution. And here with Bitcoin, you could see the same thing. Here is accumulation through 2017 through 2017. Here is your bull market move, and then here is distribution. And distribution from there on out carried us back down into our primary selling climax, and then the start of our first automatic rally in our larger trading range. Now, first and foremost, you should recognize that accumulation ranges are vastly different than said reaccumulation ranges. So these are the reaccumulation ranges. These are much smaller time frames, and they come after a much larger reaccumulation pattern. One of the reasons why we've been so continuously bullish with Bitcoin is because of this long-term accumulation pattern that builds our macro perspective as the key focus of these transitions. So every time we go up, I'm not scared about the position because these look like stepping stones of an SOS, an LPS, an SOS, and an LPS that we've gone over many times before. And not only that, look how well they align with the regression lines we've had drawn up since before those areas even existed. If I continue to draw these lines, you can see very clearly that after 23,000, we broke to the top, right of this top of this regression line, slammed pretty much right back down to the bottom, broke up above it again, and now we're in kind of no man's territory. And this is important for a few reasons. Number one, our macro story has been written like this since March. Now, again, it wasn't March exactly for me. I had like, I think March through March 30th, I even made some, there was like a festival going on and I was partying and enjoying myself and I almost bought a horse. So March was kind of a write-off for me. I was taking a bunch of psychedelic mushrooms and wandering around the jungle looking for different mushrooms. That's what I did most of March. So keep that in mind. It wasn't until May, June, July where I started posting every day again, being like, guys, the bull market is here. Look at this beautiful trading range. Do your Wyckoff studies. You definitely want to be doing the studies around Wyckoff trading ranges. Here's why. And clearly this macro perspective has played perfectly for us so far. And we can see we've just held strength on the top of our previous regression lines that, again, the story here is how low will we go and then how high will we, first off, probably how high will we go and then how low will we go afterwards. I do not believe this bull market is done. I think we're going to probably anywhere around 200 something thousand before we see a much bigger return to nominal evaluations. And now, as we look at these reaccumulation ranges, which are not accumulation ranges, these happen in much shorter duration. They're harder to pick out than the accumulation ranges that we were studying back in the beginning. And to some degree, this course, like what the Arcane Bear as a group and a private membership is studying, is an evolving course structure because every time we're in a different place of the market, it's better to be studying these particular types well, at this point, reaccumulation. Had you joined us in May, it was all about accumulation. When we get to December 2021 and maybe the bull market's over, it'll be about all distribution because these market cycles are actually usually long accumulation up and then distribution. And this takes, when an accumulation takes 2 to 3 years, like it did for Bitcoin and Ethereum, it takes a while for the bull market to play out. So we get these smaller reaccumulation patterns. And at any moment, surprise, the market could shift. You could start to see a close below a trading range, not get back above, and then the market's floor falls out sometimes for years afterwards. That's what distribution looks like. And it's one smash moment. Now you can also zoom in a little closer and do more retrospective studies for those of you that want to kind of like move quickly and learn as much as possible. Here on the 1 hour, you can start to see what a distribution trading range would look like. Now, it was only as reliable as the bottom of the support of the previous buying climax on Bitcoin, but still that represented a 40% move. So people that want to take advantage of these big ups and downs in Bitcoin's price, well, you can, first off. Secondarily, if you're new, don't. Just focus on accumulating. But playing this and at least studying from here, you can see, okay, well, if we go in and we study distribution, or for those of you that are caught up with that part of the class already, you will recognize these buying markers, and they become clearer and clearer on the as you move down the time frames. So on the 15-minute right now, we're looking back at Bitcoin's price and making a retrospective study of something called distribution. And distribution is the opposite of accumulation, and it can also very often look like reaccumulation. So here we don't know if it, let's say we don't know. Let's say we don't know if it falls. Okay, well, same way we would chart normally. Here's our primary support. Here's our buying climax. Here's our spring, and look at that supply. We'd be so stoked. And this is why you want to wait until confirmations afterwards, because if you would have entered your position here, unless you had stops at your entry, it would have fizzled out and destroyed it at a smaller time frame. Again, this is much more for like intraday traders, people that want to study ahead of class and become better at spotting distribution. There are actually a few key indicators as we zoom in here about distribution's character too. So look at these two supply checks. Down at the bottom here, we've gone over this a bunch, and this is called effort versus result. So here, this supply check, and here, this supply check. Now, the key two things that we need to notice are this one, and this price spread, and this price spread. Look how beautiful this price spread is, and look how weak this price spread is. And notice how they are pretty much the same amount of supply coming into the market. This is what's known as an upthrust and then distribution. This is where they clearly more supply is coming to the market, but it does not go much higher. And it was equal to the previous move upwards. Generally, what you want to see is actually a rising price on falling supply. And we've gone over that for reaccumulations too, where out of the SOS, it should be a rising price and a falling supply signature. And here we saw a falling price and then an increased supply signature. You want to see the opposite in reaccumulation in these final SOS phases. So one of the really big pros to studying distribution ahead of time on the smaller 15-minute frames, even though it's only as reliable as the previous area of resistance, which again, if you're an intraday trader, can represent a huge amount of speculative evaluation. 30% is not a small move, right? It's a big move. So here, what we want to recognize is that we knew that this was not the end of the market because it was on a very small, almost insignificant time frame, but it represented a big move for the primary shakeout of this time frame. And we had the exact same thing happen back in Bitcoin when it was around $42,000. Here we saw a nice rounded top. We were going over. I remember making a video about it. We posted. Here you see a clear primary support like this. A break above, it can't get above the box. Boom, it jets back down, closes up, and can't get back into the trading range above the primary support, and fell like a rock instantly afterwards, right? So this is what distribution looks like on a 15-minute time frame. The downside is, or more importantly, the upside is that we want to keep that macro perspective. We want to remember where we are in the market as a whole, because otherwise being in the market at all can seem extremely difficult. You're like, wait, why am I in the market if I don't know where I am in the market? Because then it just becomes this emotional roller coaster of, I don't know why my charts aren't showing up here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so one of the big things here is it helps you really quell your emotions by knowing where you are in the market and doing these studies. It also allows you to double, triple, or continue to invest during the market cycle, and then shave off profits when you're much near what you think the end of the top or distribution will be. And again, that's really up to each own individual's asset and portfolio building. So Bitcoin, everything looks great. We stayed right above the middle of the POC. That was nice to see. We're seeing a weakened secondary automatic rally. So it probably, to me, again, I think this spring comes down to around 40,000. I think it was, and then we can continue out very bullish. But I definitely think we're going to get something like this. Again, there is the alternative, which we break out above like it did with the last trading range and just go straight up into a much bigger movement. And bearing, if we keep that in mind, that this is all one big trading range potentially, where we are already into phase D and phase E, that may actually be the case. So I'm keeping a really close eye on Bitcoin here. I've added a few more positions to my Bitcoin long just for this one because I feel I've got a fair amount of swing room at 3x. But anyways, that's a personal preference of mine. Yeah, and that's it. Very exciting times. Are you ready for this next move? This could be the last time we ever come down this low. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. Auto scale. Nice. Thanks for that one. Great. Oh, cool. Yeah. Awesome. Well, oh yeah, last kind of comments and thoughts, guys. I wanted to do this for all the Bear family, so this will be all of you that are live. In the chat right now, there is a link to 10 of these NFT collectibles. You can pay as little as you want, but any of the sales from these will go to our Kiva campaign. So if you buy one for 10 Ethereum, we will put like, what is that? $15,000 on Kiva. It's up to you. You can make as little as you want. I put an offer in for $16 just to make sure everything worked. Two of them are already sold technically, so there's only 8 left. So for those of you that want to participate in, say, some more of our Kiva campaign, I thought this might be a funner way for us to do it than the super chats. So there's that. We're also going to be doing a Arcane Bears collector group, much nicer than this little collector set. But this is just a this is just for the Kiva campaign. All of the contributions from whatever you guys to buy this NFT will go directly into our Kiva campaign. I just wanted to try this out instead of super chats. So if you want to find that, it is in the YouTube description. I think it's the first few paragraphs of the YouTube description. I will pin it on a tab as well. Yeah, I just thought that would be a fun way for us to participate and try something new instead of the super chats. You guys can buy an Arcane Bear collectible, and all of those contributions will go direct to our Kiva campaign. Yeah, it's linked in the comments, so check it out. Okay, we will go on to more of the community thoughts and questions. Some of you guys are asking me to play some music. Would you summarize what an NFT is? This is kind of a great question. And more than the art pieces, I think just looking at individualized ownership of fractional, again, property, cars. There's a bunch of different ways you can use an NFT. I think Baloo made a good idea, like, oh, the NFT will be your key. It's very possible. These things are very secure, and they allow to create like, oh, we'll create 5 keys for a car. It's ingenious what an NFT can do in this new tech world. We just haven't got to a place where it's easily integrated to everything. Art pieces are probably one of the first places where it's budding up because of the interest of artists and creators and communities to collaborate together. Like, so for instance, with YouTube, they charge a specific amount of money to give me the super chats. Well, here you can buy an NFT and there's only the gas fees. Okay, well that's actually probably fucking cheaper than what YouTube charges to give a super chat. So here's an interesting way for us to do the Kiva campaign where you guys are getting a collector's art piece so that there's this built-in community experience alongside it as well, so that we can offer an experience for the ownership of the collectible. Anyways, I have no idea. We're still collaborating, but an NFT itself is actually much bigger than just the art sector. I think it's just starting to explode here because creators and communities are such a valuable portion of our life. I mean, think about the Arcane Bear family. I love this. Yeah. Anyways, thought that was fun. Just another side thought there. We'll go back. I'll answer a few of my guys' thoughts and questions. But I know a lot of you guys have been asking about the Kiva campaign, and I want to sell these ones because I want to sell these ones because the next run we're gonna do are gonna be fucking badass, and they're gonna go for a ridiculous amount of money. So keep that in mind. They're gonna offer all sorts of different things within them too. It's really cool. I'm excited to share what they look like. But yeah, we're gonna go over a bunch of different aspects there. Rob Groove says, looking to shared royalty. Yeah, we've talked about this mostly from building the smart contracts internally and then launching them separately. So not using Rarible or OpenSea to launch the actual contract for the next run of bears. And it will come with stuff like that where some bears may make contributions directly to charities. Like this might be an orangutan bear or something. Anyways, we're still trying to hammer out some of the details, but we're getting really into it. Yeah. Okay. Awesome. I'm glad I was able to help you guys with your understandings of NFTs there. Which exchange do you use? I fucking love FTX. ArcaneBear.com/FTX, ladies and gentlemen. If you were looking for the best exchange to play on, that's my vote. Music. Okay. A lot of you guys want music. Okay. I'll do that. One sec. Oh, I don't know what to play. See if one of the guitars is in tune. And for those of you who are wondering, hey, I watch Tio all the time. I thought he said he was going to do a live stream every day. And you're thinking to yourself, Tio didn't do a live stream yesterday. What I want you to know is I did a live stream. I just didn't broadcast on YouTube. I tried to broadcast solely from the center of my mind. I hope you guys got it. It was a limited edition run of the year where I try broadcasting from my own personal stream. Sign up for arcanebear.stream with your third eye NFT approvals only. Where is this? What are we going to do? Oh yeah, play the guitar. I think it's maybe even in tune. Let's take a look here. So thank you guys all for joining us. I love these eclectic episodes where we, get to do whatever, play guitar. And let's see. Oh yeah, it is in tune. guitar up, it'll look better. Is it even in tune? Sort of, eh? Yeah, something like this. Definitely haven't tuned the guitar. Anyways, stay with the Arcane Bear. Thank you guys all for joining us as we play and jump and dance around this unique digital age of all the fun stuff we get to play with. Thank you for supporting the Arcane Bear family and all the fun stuff we get to do. I'm really excited. We've got some cool stuff coming for the rest of the year. Thank you for those of you who did tune into my Third Eye live stream yesterday. If you ever want to tune in, just close your eyes and like meditate. If you get over an hour, that's normally where the good stuff starts, but I'll meet you on the other side.